Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and publish to grow their practices, to educate their consumers, and to leave a legacy. We're doing a series of spotlights on remarkable attorneys across the country that have a focus on elder law and or estate planning. And joining me from Texas on this segment is Hal Moorman. Hal, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I know it's a broad topic, so please give us just a brief overview on your areas of focus and the types of clients that you like to help.
Oh my gosh. Well, I do elder law and estate planning. So it's a range of people with estates of $100 million down to folks who are trying to qualify for Medicaid so they can have long-term rest home care and everything in between. So it's quite a gamut.
And speaking of that gamut, I know the recent pandemic and what inspired this whole series is just the spotlight the pandemic put on people that are in crisis mode now, and they didn't realize the importance of getting all these houses in order. So can you tell us a little bit of how the pandemic sort of shook up things and what kind of awareness was brought to it, the kind of calls that you were getting?
Well, as far as I can tell, it really didn't make a difference. The thing that some people started thinking about were all the publicity about the new estate and income tax changes. But as far as in the elder law area, not any big difference, just continued interest in people coming in and wanting to know about what they could do, how they could protect their assets from Medicaid estate recovery and, things like that. And like, planning for estate taxes at the other end, you can plan to a certain extent for long-term care expenses in the same way.
What are some of those things that people just don't know enough about? Because, elder law is sort of a recent evolution from estate planning and became broader. So what are sort of the things that elder law really helps with, and what are some of the dangers that can be avoided by having these things in order?
Well, the thing they need to understand is that even if you qualify for Medicaid, when both you and your spouse are deceased, unless you have a disabled child, your estate will be tapped for what's called Medicaid estate recovery, which is basically pay it all back. Well, there's a number of things one can do to avoid that. One thing is to have wills that create what are called special needs trusts. And these trusts, if structured properly, do not count in the asset count for Medicaid. Secondly, we do what we call a ladybird deed or a pay on death deed that will defeat Medicaid estate recovery because the house is no longer a probate asset. The car the same way. You can have a pay on death title to your car now in Texas, and that takes that out of the equation also. And then doing things smart things to qualify for Medicaid, but taking care of business, such as you can prepay your funeral as long as it's in a Medicaid qualified funeral trust. And most funeral homes are aware of this, and if requested, they know how to set that up. And also, I've dealt with litigation over how's the funeral going to be handled. But one thing I've learned is if the funeral's already paid for, nobody fights about who gets to say. So there's another benefit there also. And then just, deciding about what I'm going to do with my assets, especially when it's a second marriage and there's kids from both marriages in Texas. That creates, everybody assumes, oh, it'll all go to my spouse. No, especially not where there's a second marriage, kids from another marriage, community and separate property issues. It's a big deal.
Yes, speaking of myths and misconceptions, when people think, oh, yeah, it's just going to go to my spouse, it just goes down the family tree automatically, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, so an old school way of thinking was, oh, I got a will and testament. That's all I need to do. Can you speak to that? Because that's not enough, is it?
It's not enough, especially even if you have it, is it drafted properly? do you want to take advantage of this special needs trust to protect your spouse or a child who may have special needs and is on that kind of support from having the government disqualify them while they spend all that money? So that's a big deal. And then also just a durable power of attorney gives someone else the right to make financial decisions for you. And if you hadn't quite done it all and you're kind of reaching the end, it's with gifting powers. You got to have the gifting powers in there. And that can be huge, because let's say we set up a special needs trust in both wills and one spouse is dying. It's clear they're going to die in a week or so. Well, the other spouse may want to give everything to the dying spouse, knowing that their will leaves everything to the surviving spouse in this special needs trust. Now, people don't think about finances at death, but it's something that can be done. Plus a healthcare power of attorney saying who gets to decide for you healthcare decisions. We call it directive to physicians in Texas. It's referred to as a living will. That gives your preferences to your family. And even a designation of agent for burial, especially in a blended family. Here's who can say how I want to be handled, and do I want to be cremated, and where do I want to be buried, and all of that business. And then a marital agreement, if it is a blended, a second marriage in a blended family, that can be a big deal also. So all those things, it's more than just the will, totally.
Hal, now the name elder law and estate planning, it almost brings to mind this is stuff I don't need to worry about till later. When is the right time to start getting this stuff in order? Because I understand you could actually do it when you're younger. And because some people say, oh, estate planning, I don't even have nothing yet. I just got out of college or something. When's the right time to start planning?
Well, I think the right time to start planning is really for parents. Get your kids who can sign to give powers of attorney, medical powers of attorney. If they own property, money or otherwise, they ought to have a will that says where it goes. I mean, it's huge. I have had a couple of people in my office who kept saying, if I die. It's not if, it's when. So, let's get past that one.
Yeah, they know something we don't.
Right. So, but there are a lot of people also who say, well, I hate to think about death. That's very depressing. Well, yes, it is. But even more depressing is chaos after you die because you hadn't taken care of business. And for a lot of folks, it's pretty simple. And we have it all the time where nobody did anything. And now there's fighting among the kids and it's a mess. And they spend a lot of money. And I always say the kids who fight will end up with less. And if they got along and worked it out, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases, it's crazy. So working it out, getting it done is important, and having the parents do it ahead of time. And if they feel comfortable telling the kids, here's what we've done, it really takes all these expectations out of the picture. Everybody knows what's going to happen. They live with it for years. And it's really nice. Plus, when the parents say, okay, I want to be cremated and that kind of thing. My father started our law firm in 1954, and he had very definite ideas. He water skied on a slalom ski till he was 78 years old. And he only quit because he had hip replacement. Well, he wanted to be cremated and his ashes scattered on a lake somewhere. Well, we knew what he wanted, so we did it, There weren't any questions at all. And that's wonderful for a family. That's hugely important. So
Hal,
it's not just about the money.
So Hal, obviously law is in the family. What inspired you in particular to turn your focus on elder law and estate planning? Was that part of the practice or was this an evolution?
No, it was part of our practice here, but in law school, I had a really great trusts and estates professor that was super, and he got me very interested in it and the tax stuff. I mean, I've got an undergrad degree in engineering, and so I'm mathematically inclined, and a lot of lawyers aren't. So the ones that are usually go to some tax work. And then it's just the personal interaction with folks, helping them solve problems. and prevent problems down the line that an estate planning elder law attorney can do for folks. It's a wonderful experience. I've had so many people when they sign their documents, they say, I feel so much better now. That's great. And I'm working with third and fourth generation of folks whose, parents and grandparents my dad represented. And that's a wonderful thing too. So I enjoy that also. It's great.
For folks that are listening now in areas that you can serve, tell us what those areas are and how they can find you, connect with you, and learn more.
Well, the easiest way is our website, mormontate.com, MOORMANT like in Tom, ATE.com. Then you got my email. You've got all about me and the other members of our firm. We're right in downtown Brenham. We've been here forever. And people often say, well, how do I know you're going to keep things confidential? Well, that's the hallmark of what a lawyer has to do. And everybody that comes to work here, lawyers and staff, sign an agreement and understanding if they ever breach that confidence, they are terminated immediately. So that's helpful. So that, phone number 979-836-5664. Between those two things, you can find us, and anyone that answers the phone in my office can schedule an appointment with me.
Hal, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today. I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Hal Moorman from Texas. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate their consumers, to grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.